So I got my dream machine in the mail, which is the Ultratech Fantasy machine, and this is going to allow me to do carving style to my gemstones called the Fantasy Gemstones, which is concave facets, where the machines you're typically used to seeing me use do flat facets. Now, the craziest part is the machine showed up and the motor had actually been knocked off the machine and damaged in transit. So I had a replacement motor show up, and I'm just going to solder it on to the base, and then we're going to get right into using this machine. Okay, so now I just got to attach these wires here. And while we have it flipped over, look at this mandala in the metal. It's pretty incredible. You see the little circle here, and it kind of just spins out from there. Very cool. So now all I need to do is set this in. That's in place. My Allen key. So plug into this. This is in place. Alright, so first step is preforming this citrine. I'm just cutting it into a cube. And then I'm going to cut the pavilion facets. Once that's done, I'm going to transfer over to the Fantasy machine. Now, once we're on the Fantasy machine, the idea is to do the grooves that I'm trying to do, finish the polish on the Fantasy machine, transfer back to the flat lap, and do my pre-polish and my polishing phase, and then the pavilion will be finished. Then from there, it's the standard daub transfer, cut the crown, and I'm going to do the crown exclusively on the flat lap. I'm not going to go super crazy on this first one. And a lot of this is going to be experimentation and learning. So we're going to start off easy, and as I cut more of these gems, I'm going to integrate more designs and more ideas. Now this is my alignment piece, and what the idea is, where this dop is sticking out is where I need my sintered diamond to basically land. So the sintered diamond sits right in the groove of this dop stick. It actually sticks out too far. We're about 3/8 of an inch off, and that's not going to work. So the idea is to take this brass stick and make it about the length of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it upside down, and I'm going to use my jewel tool, and I'm going to shave away a bunch of metal. It's a little bit crude of a repair, but at this point, time is of the essence, and I just kind of want to keep moving along. So that's what I'm going to do. They actually look factory cut, so it's pretty sweet. Now I've already tried the copper one. Let's just try this and double check that this works. Beautiful. Okay, so to actually get the machine set up, put the mast on, get the motor in the position I want, get everything aligned, get this bar, the angle stop, I forget the name of that thing, the lateral swing arm, whatever it was. It takes a bit of time. Now, here's the brutal part. It's 11 o'clock at night, everything's closed, and I need a drain hose. So what I've done is I've rolled up a silicone mat. It has an elastic band on it. And this is pretty ridiculous, but I really can't wait any longer. And I'm going to put a cup or some type of reservoir right here to catch the water. We're going to fire this up, and I'm going to do, I think it's 6 or 8 slits on this pavilion with my sintered diamond disc, and we're going to see what happens. This is Ultratech Fantasy Test 1. Here we go. Okay, that was interesting. I'm going to start by just making a small incision, and we're going to see if everything is calibrated properly. You know, we're just going to see how it goes. This is actually my original design that I'm doing right now, and it makes sense in my mind, so we'll see how it cuts. So it turns out the citrine actually ended up chipping, and what I did was I took the mast off the Fantasy machine, put it back on the flat lap machine, recut the pavilion, and decided to have another go at the fantasy cuts. Now, the same issue happened again. I ended up chipping the citrine a second time. Now, it turns out that this sintered disc was actually defective, and I ended up returning it and purchasing another one. Now we're ready to go. We're going to give this a try again, and we're going to see what happens. Alright, so I did the gem transfer, and I'm just going to be cutting the crown. Now I've decided on a pretty simple crown, and the reason I've designed it this way is I want the star of the show to be the fantasy design in the pavilion, and it's got a pretty large table. It's a pretty good sized viewing window, and I think it's going to look really good.